Let's talk about the biggest headache for CPA firms today. It's not a lack of clients, and it's definitely not a shortage of work. The real problem is this growing, fundamental gap between what needs to be done and who's actually available to do it. So today, we're going to dive into a really powerful solution that isn't just about hiring more people, it's about working smarter. We're going to explore how redesigning your firm with what's called a hybrid model can solve this talent crisis for good. If you ask just about any firm owner what keeps them up at night, this is the answer you're going to hear every single time. Finding and retaining good people. It has become the single biggest challenge, and it's absolutely crippling growth in the accounting industry. And let's be real, this isn't just some HR problem anymore. For a lot of firms, it's a full-blown strategic crisis. And you can see the symptoms everywhere. It's like a perfect storm, right? You've got fewer and fewer accounting grads coming out of school, and they're expecting higher salaries. At the same time, your existing team is getting totally burned out, which leads to more turnover. And then trying to find a replacement, it takes forever and costs a fortune. It's just this vicious cycle that puts a hard ceiling on your firm's growth. So how in the world do we break this cycle? Well, here's our game plan for this explainer. First, we'll dig a little deeper into the talent crunch itself. Then we'll introduce the hybrid model and show you exactly how it works in the real world. After that, we'll look at the numbers, the real economic impact. We'll also tackle the common questions and concerns you probably have, and we'll wrap up with the mindset shift that really ties this all together. Okay, first up, the CPA talent crunch. Because look, to find the right solution, we have to get really honest about why the old ways of running a firm just aren't cutting it anymore. For decades, the answer to more work was so simple, right? Just hire more people. But that formula is completely broken. On one hand, you've got clients who expect faster turnarounds and deeper insights than ever before. But on the other hand, the supply of qualified local professionals is shrinking. That bridge between the work and the people to do it, it's collapsing, and the traditional model has become totally unsustainable. So if that old bridge is broken, how do we build a new one? Well, this brings us to a modern, really elegant solution, the hybrid model. And it's built on a simple but incredibly powerful idea. Keep your strategy local, but take your execution global. So what is a hybrid team exactly? Now, it's so important to get this right. This is not just about outsourcing a task here or there. It's a fundamental redesign of how your firm actually delivers its work. You're creating a single integrated team that combines the client-facing genius of your local staff with the efficiency and scale of a global workforce. Okay, that's the big idea. But what does this actually look like day to day? Let's get practical and break down how these hybrid teams really work. Here's the core principle, and it's so simple. You divide the work by its value, not just by convenience. Think about it. Your in-house team gets freed up to focus on the things that matter most, the strategic advice, the complex reviews, and nurturing those client relationships that actually grow your firm. And meanwhile, the offshore team expertly handles all the high-volume, process-driven work. Everyone gets to play to their strengths. And this model is more viable now than it has ever been. It's powered by these incredible global accounting hubs, like India, that have a deep talent pool of professionals. And these aren't rookies. They're trained in US accounting standards, tax rules, cloud platforms, the whole nine yards. They bring this really strong process orientation with quality checks built right into their workflow. Let's make this super tangible with an example, like payroll. We all know payroll is time-consuming and loaded with compliance headaches, so it's a perfect candidate for this model. The offshore team does all the heavy lifting, processing the data, running the calculations, getting the reports ready. Then your team steps in for that crucial final review and to handle any client communication. And just like that, payroll transforms from a staffing nightmare into a scalable, profitable service. All right, now for the part every single firm owner really cares about, the bottom line. Let's take a look at how this model can fundamentally transform your firm's economics. The economic benefits here create this amazing chain reaction. It starts with lower fixed costs, which immediately improves your margins. And because work is happening across different time zones, you get faster turnaround times. This frees up your local team to do more interesting, meaningful work, which boosts morale and cuts way down on burnout. And what happens when you have a happier, more strategic team? They deliver better service, which leads directly to stronger client retention. It all connects. I mean, the contrast couldn't be clearer. The old way, it's a dead end of high fixed costs, team burnout, and constant staffing bottlenecks. The hybrid way, on the other hand, creates better margins, more engaging work for your team, and this flexible, scalable capacity that lets you grow without hitting a wall. Now, of course, a shift this big is going to come with some very valid questions. So in this next section, let's just tackle the most common concerns head on and get you some real straight answers. This is probably the number one fear for most firm owners, right? If I hand off the work, does that mean I'm giving up control over the quality and the process? The answer is an emphatic no. In fact, it's quite the opposite. This model actually demands that you stay in the driver's seat. You are the one who defines the processes. You approve all the work, and your team always owns the client relationship. The offshore team simply executes within the precise framework that you create for them. The model works for you. Okay, here's another big one. Can an offshore team really match the quality and the accuracy that I get from my trusted in-house staff? Well, counterintuitively, the opposite is often true. See, by design, these offshore teams are specialists. They focus on very specific tasks, day in and day out, and they become incredibly efficient and accurate. They build these robust systems with multiple layers of quality checks that can actually improve the consistency and the quality of your deliverables. And in our world, this question is absolutely non-negotiable. What about the security and confidentiality of my clients' sensitive data? And the answer here has to be an absolute yes. Any reputable professional partner makes security their top priority. They operate with strict enterprise-grade protocols. We're talking secure data centers, end-to-end encryption, and rigorous confidentiality controls, all to make sure your client's data is always protected. So we've covered the what, the how, and the why of the hybrid model. But, the biggest barrier to success isn't usually operational. It's mental. And that brings us to our final and maybe our most important section, adopting a future-ready mindset. This right here, this is the single most important shift in thinking you can make. For decades, the default question for growth has always been, who should we hire next? But the future-ready leader asks a totally different question. They ask, what work truly drives our value and absolutely must be done in-house? The moment you stop thinking about just filling seats and you start thinking about designing work, the path forward becomes incredibly clear. And this is where we'll end. The future of accounting isn't about doing everything yourself. It's about deeply understanding where your team creates unique value and then building an intelligent, resilient system that leverages global talent for everything else. The smartest firms of tomorrow won't be the ones who do the most work. They'll be the ones who design it best.